Well, I'll tell you what, sometimes the garden can be a frustrating and overwhelming place. Yesterday, while coming home from a great garden trade show in Columbus called Cultivate 19, I've been there for 4 or 5 days, the air conditioner goes out on my truck. I come back to see this. These were some cabbage plants that I was going to put in. I had them up high, which I thought was a safe place, and look what happened. Then I came walking out the garden and saw that this bird bath, giant bird bath, had fallen over and the statuary had fallen down here. Now, luckily my boss is coming over and he is a manly hockey player and he's going to help me pick this thing up because I'm telling you, it is super heavy. Now, about that trade show at Cultivate 19, I have got some cool new plants for you to see, and I have one I want to show at the very end of this video. That's what we call a tease, to make you watch the whole thing, but of course, you could just fast forward ahead, but then you'd miss all the fun. Let's go to work. Well, for most people, we're getting to the point where we're starting to harvest, and I always tell people harvest in the morning when the plants are at their best, filled with moisture from that nice cool evening. And we're going to start with some basil today, and I like to put it right into a jar of water, and I'm going to go around the garden, do some basil. We got garlic to harvest, lots of other things too, and that's all we need to do. All right. And this stuff looks good. Every time we cut this, the top of this, it's going to split and add more. I can't wait for dinner tonight. We're also talking about deadheading today, zinnias especially. These guys are in good shape. They're not too old, but I'm going to cut them anyway for a vase, and every time you do cut them, it encourages more blooms. You can see those are starting to split there, and boy, I love zinnias for cut flowers. These were grown from seed, and that's the way I always do it. I don't like to start from plants, and they look pretty healthy. They don't get quite as much sun as they would like, but that's why they're falling over. But still, it'll be fine for a vase. But I've got another plant I want to show you how I'm going to deadhead it so that it continues to bloom all season long. Well, we got one more here. Looks good. And we'll just stick them in here with this basil. Keep them happy until we get them inside. So here's an annual shade lover called Turenia, and I've done a little bit of work on it, cut it back a little bit, but you can see it's almost stopped blooming. What it wants to do is it wants to grow, it wants to bloom, and then it wants to set seed and go to sleep. We need to remove these little seed heads, and then we'll get some more blooms. But look at the one over here that I've done more work on. You can see, look at that. And we're just going to trim off the old blooms that have turned into seeds. And you can see that one's coming on. And we'll do the same thing with most annuals. You know, modern plants, for the most part, breeders have worked so that you don't have to deadhead, but Turenia is one of those plants where you've got to keep going and cut off the old growth. Okay, almost done. And then we're going to go in the garden and get a job done. I'm planting something next that you've never heard of. And still harvesting garlic. Gives us a little room to plant our next weird seed. So in cleaning off this bed after the garlic, I found some foxglove that sprouted on its own. And I'm just going to move them. This is not the best time to move them, but I'm going to put them on the edge of another part of the vegetable garden. And it's better than just tossing them into the compost. So I've got a hole over there, and I'm just going to get that one's already out of the ground. And we'll see what we could do. We'll put water on them right away. Okay. The first year, foxglove is just foliage. Next year we get the flowers, and then they die, and they can just pop up wherever they're happy. All right, I'm going to water this, and then we're going to plant our weirdest seed. Well, usually my Seed of the Month Club members get normal seeds, but I wanted to stretch a little bit, and I sent them this Hamburg Rooted Turnip Parsley. It's not really a parsley, and it's not really a turnip. It's kind of a parsnip that will form down here. And that's one of the fun things about gardening, is trying some of this new weird stuff. That's why I try and send some different stuff out. And we've put some compost down here and a bed over here. I had leeks there, garlic here. And I got a question from last week's video, do you plant directly in compost? Yes, that's the way I do it. There's nothing wrong with that. Compost gives the plants everything they need. When they have everything they need, they're going to be happy. And with a root crop like this, Hamburg Rooted Turnip Parsley, we're going to need some soft soil here, and it's just kind of like carrot seeds. We're going to kind of sprinkle them on here. They will need to be thinned, and when I do thin them, I will use those in the kitchen too. They take probably 3 weeks to germinate. They take a long time, but they'll love the warm temperatures. We will put some water on them right away. I'm just going to scratch them into the soil, put some water on, and we'll be done. I'm going to plant this other bed, and then let's finish up. I'm not going to add any mulch until these sprout and get a little bit bigger. Those are really small seeds. I'm not sure if they can work their way through the mulch. But last week we planted beans, and those beans are up through the mulch. All right, we are going to finish up. It might be the most hated plant for gardeners, but for me, I just love it. This is Rose of Sharon, and yes, it makes tons of babies. It can be a pain. I have a double variety up there that is supposed to be sterile, that doesn't make babies, that I just love. But my kids used to play under these trees 21, 22 years ago, and I just have to have it. The summer blooms, you know, it's just one of those things. Now, check me out online. We have so much cool stuff going on there. Jess, who shoots and produces these segments, is doing a series called The New Gardener. My boss Mike is doing a series called The Sophomore Garden. He's having a great second year, and I have a great story, one I just love, on banana trees. You can actually grow a banana tree like this in your garden, and it will come back for you. Until next week, I'm going to make a lot more cuttings for the vases. I've got hydrangeas and lilies and all sorts of things. Not so frustrating and overwhelming today once we look at the flowers. We'll see you then. So this is Midnight Gold, the double petunia I found at Cultivate 19. I'll have a lot more to show you at everybodygardens.com.